Today we're going to be talking about the different types of car insurance policies. There's a bunch of them out there. We're going to explain them. We're going to tell you exactly what we recommend you need to have.
I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Here in the state of Texas, as is the law in many other places in the country, you have to maintain liability insurance. What is liability insurance? Liability insurance is the type of coverage that suggests that if I go out there and get in an accident and it's my fault, I can pay for the damage of the other person. So liability coverage is the minimum amount of insurance that you have to have by law, and it covers the damages of the other person involved in the accident if you were at fault. So here in the state of Texas, the minimum liability insurance policies are $30,000 for bodily injury per person, $60,000 per occurrence, which means the unfortunate reality is that if you go out there and you kill somebody, for example, their lives, according to the insurance company, is worth up to $30,000. $30,000 does not seem to be enough, right? And that's why we're going to talk about some other types of insurance policies that are available that you need to have to protect yourself, your family, and your assets. So I've just mentioned that if you have liability coverage in the state of Texas, it covers the other person if you caused the accident. Then what about you? What about your coverage? If you're not paying for additional coverage other than liability coverage, you are going to be SOL. So underneath your coverage, liability, in my opinion, is not enough. You need to have additional coverage to make sure that your damages get addressed and taken care of in the case of an accident. So in my opinion, in addition to your liability coverage, you have to have at least comprehensive to go along with that. What that's going to do is allow you to get your car fixed if you're involved in an accident that you caused it through your negligence. If it's a situation where someone else caused the accident, that is great. That's wonderful. We don't have to worry about that because the other person is then responsible for fixing your car and for your other damages, right? But we're talking about in a situation where you caused the accident, you want to make sure that your car gets fixed, and it's going to get fixed if you have comprehensive insurance coverage, okay? Make sure you have that. Now, the next question, is that enough? And in my opinion, the answer is no. In addition to the liability that we discussed, in addition to the comprehensive that we discussed, I recommend that my clients get full coverage insurance. You need to have full coverage insurance because up until now, we've talked about coverage to your car, right? So what if you've been injured? What if the other person does not have the requisite type of insurance to make sure that your car is going to be repaired? There's a lot of people out there riding dirty. I cannot tell you how many times I get contacted by someone who's been involved in an accident, not of their doing, not of their fault, and the other person does not have good insurance coverage. The problem is if you only have comprehensive coverage, then your insurance company does not have an obligation to repair your vehicle. Two things that I highly recommend is that you have uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage and PIP protection. Personal injury protection is really important. Personal injury protection or PIP. What are these components? Underinsured, uninsured motorist coverage basically suggests that if the other person does not have insurance or does not have sufficient insurance, your insurance company will step in to make sure that all of your damages get addressed up to the amount of your insurance limits. So what I'm basically saying, if you get hit by somebody and their insurance is bad, it's out of play, there's a bunch of people in the accident, your insurance steps in to make sure that you can get back on the road and you're okay. In addition, if you have uninsured and underinsured motorists, if you suffer a bodily injury issue, you suffer some kind of a physical injury, require to see specialists or doctor's visits, those things can be covered by your uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. Now, something else that's really important is the personal injury protection benefits, okay? It's only a small amount. If you look on your declarations page, You only pay a small amount for this cost. What it basically says is that if you get involved in an accident, the insurance company has to pay you a certain amount of dollars pursuant to the amount of money that you incur. Get this coverage. It's additional money for you to help you out when you need it. If you're losing time at work, if you lose, you can prove up certain financial damages. This will help you get back on the road and do it very quickly so that you can get back on the road to normalcy. You know, it'd be really helpful if I could show you guys what a deck page is and we can go through it together so I could explain it to you. I wish I had one handy. Where could I get a... Oh, look, well. Look guys, it's a declamations page. Wow. My dream has come true. The deck page tells you exactly what you're covered for, right? And so you need to be very careful with this and make sure that you go over it to make sure you understand what's going on. If you're not paying for something, then you're not going to get the benefits when you need them. So first, check with your premiums. Check your premiums and see what fees you're paying and find out exactly what is listed underneath that deck page, okay? Make sure you have the right amounts of coverage for the type of vehicle and the coverage that you're looking for. I'm looking here at this particular deck page. It's very important you get enough coverage for the amount of money that you think you're going to be looking for. As I mentioned to you before, Texas minimum limits are $30,000 and $60,000 in a particular occurrence. To me, that's not enough coverage. I always go for a higher amount of coverage. So if something happens, I'm entitled to get additional damages if I can prove them up. I'm looking at this particular policy and the limits are up to $250,000. So instead of someone getting only up to $30,000, in this particular policy, you can get up to $250,000. You're going to pay a little bit more, but you've got better coverage. Better coverage is always better for you if something happens. So we're paying for bodily injury, great. So we're covered for that if something happens. You've got $100,000 worth of property damage here on this particular policy. So one thing I will say, medical payments. Do not get medical payments. PMP, medical coverage, $5,000 per person. We want to make sure you have PIP. Medical payments are paid to other third parties when you incur bills. The personal injury protection, the PIP, you get direct benefit from that and control those funds if you get the PIP. So I get the PIP, not the PMP. Make sure you note that difference. And I'm looking here, this person's very smart. They've got uninsured motorist coverage and they're only paying, look, $44.50 for $250,000 worth of coverage. Look at the small amount of additional money that you're paying to get a significant amount of additional insurance coverage premium. So take a look at those numbers. They're important. I know it adds to your bill, but when something happens, and it's eventually something will, you have the proper protection and coverage that you have for yourself and for your family so you can get back on the road. And just a few other things just to make sure under the comprehensive policy. You know, you want to make sure you've got collision, you've got towing, some of these other little benefits, just in case things happen. Again, just check to make sure that you're paying for things like rental, towing, your glass repaired if something happens. Those things happen from time to time, so it's nice to have those coverage instead of having to incur a $1,000 loss or a $500 rental bill, when you can pay a little bit of an extra premium to get the coverage that you need through your auto coverage. Okay, I just want to remind you, okay? You want to make sure you've got that PIP. You want to make sure that you're fully covered. You want to make sure you've got that uninsured motorist coverage to make sure that if something happens, you're on the road to recovery as quickly as possible, okay? We already know the other person is going to get taken care of if something bad happens, but this secures and makes sure that all the needs that you and your family need are perfectly lined out in the contract that you're agreeing to with your insurance carrier. That's all listed in your deck page, okay? This is really, really important. So take the 5 minutes it takes just to run through it and make sure it's covered. And always ask questions. If something doesn't sound right to you, talk to your agent, or hey, give me a call and ask me what my thoughts are with regards to what you think you should do, or with regards to what I think you should do. I hope this has been really enlightening to you. Insurance is really important to me. It should be just as important to yourself. If we can help you with any questions, give us a shout below. Follow us. Share this. Hopefully this has been beneficial. This is Attorney Darren Miller. And before I leave, I can't forget to remind you that this is